What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 5 of the Nosebleeds section podcast. My name is Nick, alongside my co-host Thomas. It's going to be just a shorter episode today, as we wanted to hold off on some news for our next episode so we can go into way more detail about it, because those two main topics that we want to talk about might take up the entire time, but we just wanted to come in. One of the stories we talked about last episode was the Jamal Adams drama, and not much has really come out since then, but LeVeon Bell did comment on Jamal Adams possibly leaving the Jets, and he basically stated that he thinks Jamal Adams is going to stay. He thinks that more or less like his heart is with the Jets, and he just kind of wants to get it paid, more or less. That I also think it's good for Jets fans to hear it from a player instead of just the Jets front office or the media to try to make up a story or try to make both sides happy. That's coming from a player. Yes, it is a Jets player, but at the same time, they're probably close. They probably talked about staying or leaving or whatever. Give me your thoughts as a Jets fan. What do you think of now that LeVeon Bell has come out with this news or this his statement? What do you think? Do you want Jamal Adams to stay? Do you think he's gonna stay?
I feel like I'm still on the fence about him staying. I think my opinion from the last episode when we talked about this originally, he was a player that I was done with. I didn't want him. Where now, if he comes back in the mindset that Le'Veon Bell says he'll still come and play, I guess I would consider it. I would consider. I mean, obviously he's probably the best safety in the NFL still. And I mean, you do want him on your team. He's a player that you saw multiple times make phenomenal plays that helped the Jets win games, especially when the season was down. And he probably could have taken the rest of the season off and done bad and or not put his entire heart onto the field, and he still did with some of those plays he made. And it's still hard for me to say that I want him to be a Jet because of the way he's seemed so against the Jets recently. But if he signs for 6 years, then obviously I'd be thrilled. But right now, it's still hard to see him as a Jet.
Yeah, that's. I guess reasonable with the way he's gone at fans, the way he's taken the social media and made everything so public about how he wasn't happy with contract talks and he wasn't happy that the Jets were taking possible trade offers for him, and it just seemed like he wanted to get out no matter what was going to happen. It just seems like he wanted to get out, and it didn't seem like he wanted anything to do with the Jets at all. So I think from a Jets perspective. I think he's definitely someone you want to keep. There's no way you want to get rid of him. Let's be real. Jamal Adams, at his age, he was drafted 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
He was drafted 3 years ago, and you can easily argue that he's one of the best safeties in the NFL. And for his age, that's someone you want to lock up for a long time. We talked about the Patrick Mahomes contract. Obviously, he's not going to get that, but he's. No, I feel like he's pretty deserving of the contract he wants and the contract he thinks he should get. I think he's done a good enough job in order to receive that contract, and I feel he's, again, as I said last episode, that this was kind of a publicity stunt where no matter what happens, he's gonna get what he wants. He's gonna get the money that he wants. It's either he gets traded and then he gets the money he wants, or he stays with the Jets and he gets the money he wants. But I do feel that this is kind of good news for Jets fans as Le'Veon Bell is commenting on it, because there really hasn't been much to comment. There was kind of a couple weeks ago, a month ago, everything was kind of laid out on Twitter, Instagram, all kinds of social media, and Jamal Adams was yeah, I want to go. He wasn't happy, he just wanted to go, and now it's kind of seeming like he might not go, and he probably won't go, and he's probably gonna get the money he wants with the Jets, and he'll be with the Jets for a while. I hope he stays with the Jets, because I think the Jets are on an upward trend with the way that their draft has gone. It seems like they're really investing in their offensive line to keep Sam Darnold safe. Sam Darnold, when he didn't have mono, seemed to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. He had a pretty good year. Obviously, they need to fix that offensive line, and if they can fix that offensive line, I think Sam Darnold can do a lot. But again, that depends on how the pieces they drafted and how the pieces they get fit. Because if they don't fit, the Jets are just going to kind of be where they were. And their division is more or less wide open. I mean, Tom Brady leaving the Patriots, I feel that division could be won by any of those teams. Yes, it's still Bill Belichick's Patriots, and they're still going to play a very similar way. Their defense is still pretty good, but I mean, now you still have to try to go. You're not going against Tom Brady and the Patriots. It's a much different looking team, even though you just kind of got rid of 1 to 2 players. But I do think that division is wide open. The Bills, in my opinion, still have the best chance to win it, but I do think the Jets, if they can figure things out early, they can easily make a run for that division. I think they can.
Or at least a 7th spot, because this will be the first year that there will be 7 playoff teams.
Yeah, that is true. So it makes it not easier, but it gives teams on the cusp of the wild card a better chance to get in. So I do think that the Jets can. I feel like this is a season where you aim for that 7th playoff spot. I feel like that's where your marker is. I feel like you don't go much further than that marker. That marker is kind of that's where you want to be at the end of this year with your rookies and everything. You want to be at that 7th spot marker, because after that, then you go into the next draft, or you make a couple good off-season signings, and then you aim for that playoff spot. You aim for that wild card. Then I feel like that's where the Jets should aim to be at the end of this season. And I feel like I know Jets fans are gonna be like, oh, but we want to make the playoffs, we want to win our division, but realistically, from where you were last season, you ended off the season 7-2, I think.
7-9.
What's up?
Oh, it finished 6-2.
6-2. 6-2. The last 8 games, you were 6-2. That's first of all, that's far better than the beginning of the season, and you didn't have Sam Darnold for 5 out of the first 8 games, or 4 out of the first 8 games, whatever the exact thing was, because I don't remember. But they still had a pretty good end to the season. If you keep Jamal Adams, I feel like that defense is as good as it was, maybe a little better with more experience and everything. But I just feel that the Jets should be shooting for that 7th spot. That's the spot that they should be going for, and if they hit that, it's a good season. If they go further, it's a great season. I mean, I feel like that there's no wrong part of that, in my opinion. Do you think the Jets should be hitting for that spot, or they should be going higher?
I think the Jets have a lot of talent on their roster. You look at, they were the most injured team in the league. I think at one point they had 23 of their 53 players on injured reserve for one of the weeks, which is absolutely mind-blowing. And a lot of their great players, both middle linebackers and C.J. Mosley and Avery Williamson, both were out for the season. And then there's their backups to them, both also got injured and were out for the season. So they were on their 3rd, 4th string middle linebackers, which is a hard position to fill. Their starting tight end, and Chris Herndon, was suspended for the first 4 games. He comes back for 1 game, gets a season-ending injury, doesn't play for the rest of the season. And there was just so many key pieces that are going to be coming back this season, where I feel like going 7-9 last year, the expectation should be to make the playoffs. There's too much talent on the roster for them to at least not be competing for a top 7 spot. In my opinion, they should probably even be higher than that. But I don't know if Adam Gase is the right coach to help them get there. So I feel like this has to be, to the ownership, to Adam Gase, has to be, there's a lot of talent here. Sam Darnold's going into his 3rd season now. If they don't, at least, if they're not competing on week 17 to make it into the playoffs this season, then I think you got to get rid of Adam Gase.
Let's say the thing is, I don't know if it's going to be, if you're going to see a lot of coaches fired this year because of the way you're not able to work with your team right now. Because we would have had the draft. Coaches would have been able to work with their rookies. Now everything's over Zoom meetings, and you're still not really able to work with your rookies yet. And that, on top of working with your rookies, working with anyone you signed in the offseason. So you're not really able to work with people the way you want to be hands-on and be all right, we need to do this, or we got to fix that. Maybe we can move it over this way. The coaches don't have that luxury right now. So I do feel that you're not going to see a lot of coaches fired, or you're not going to see a lot of changes, because realistically they haven't had the opportunity to coach the way they want to coach. So I don't think, for example, Adam Gase, if the Jets don't make the playoffs or they're not fighting for it, yes, it's a disappointing season. But I don't know if they fire Adam Gase over it. Now, if they go 2-14, that's a different conversation we're having. But I feel like if they're hitting around the same mark they hit last year, around the 7-win mark, I would say 5 to like 9 wins if they're over there. Or I'm gonna say 5 to 7 because I feel like if they get more than 7, I feel Adam Gase is keeping his job no matter what. But if I say 5 to 7, I feel like no matter what, Adam Gase is going to stay there. Anything below that is a really, really disappointing season for the Jets. And then, yeah, maybe you do consider offloading Adam Gase and getting a new head coach. But him not able to work with anyone on the team other than Zoom meetings is a lot different than being hands-on and telling people how you want a certain thing done. So
but he was already on the hot seat from last season because after last season, Jets fans were already calling for his head. There was already billboards that fans had, donated to a GoFundMe page and there were like leading up to the stadium for Week 17. They had Adam Gase's face on like a Joker, like Photoshop with the Joker makeup on and like calling him a clown and stuff. So I feel like he was already on the hot seat. So yeah, I do understand the point. I feel like other coaches may get that luxury, but I feel like Adam Gase is on the hot seat this season. So despite him not having the offseason that a normal coach would have, I feel like the Jets are like, they're not going to give him that luxury. Like, he had such a bad first season with the way he handled player relationships, the way he handled media. He looked like a fool sometimes. And I'm not talking about the crazy eyes. I'm talking about after losses, calling out other players, and literally never taking the blame himself. So I feel like that's the reason that the Jets ownership is still going to expect a much better season because he's already on the hot seat.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I get that. I think that's like respectable and everything. I just feel like it's like not being able to do as much this year with your team heading into the season. You're not able to prepare the way you want to prepare. Like, they'll still have preseason and everything, but by the time preseason comes, you normally have your rookies knowing exactly what they should be doing at every given time. Now, if they make a mistake here and there, it's fine. But now you're coaching your rookies, you're coaching anyone new, and you still got to coach the team for chemistry reasons. Like, for Sam Darnold to get used to throwing to Denzel Mims, who they just drafted. Like, you're not going to have that, or you're not going to have Denzel Mims maybe he'll run the right route, but like maybe not at the timing that quarterback to wide receiver needs, or to maybe like make a certain person open. Like, things like that is going to be very hard to work with through preseason. It's going to be a lot more work that they're going to have to put in. So I'm not saying that he's not on the hot seat and that he's not going to get fired, but I feel you're not going to see as many firings this year as you would in previous years if a team did really bad. Because I feel like there is that kind of leeway, or that, like, oh, if we have a couple less wins, it's okay this year, or like whatever whatever you expect. Now, if you're like, I don't know, if you're the Chiefs and you have like 7 wins, then yeah, maybe you like really consider it. Because let's be real, that's just a horrendous year if the Chiefs do that. But again, that's if that happens. That is a couple big ifs. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how maybe teams get on, because maybe there's more firings because of this, or maybe I feel like there's gonna be less because coaches don't have the time that they would like to have to work with their team.
I think there's a lot of coaches who are forcing their players to have OTAs. I don't know if I know you're a big Saints fan, but being a Jet fan, I saw that Josh Allen of the Bills and Sam Darnold, they went to the same place in Florida for a week and invited majority of the skilled positions on offense to a little camp that they did for like a week and a half, both quarterbacks. Josh Allen did it 1 week, and then Sam Darnold was the week after. But I feel like that was... It could have been their idea, or they go to the same QB coach as well, so it could have been his idea. But I think other teams are going to be having some similar, because they're obviously not allowed to go to the team facility. So I feel like a lot of quarterbacks and other offenses have gone together over the offseason to make up for the OTAs. So I don't know if there's going to be as big of a drop or as big of a missing piece as there may have been if they weren't allowed to go do something like that.
Oh, yeah. It's an interesting position. I feel most teams are gonna have to adjust on the fly. But yeah, there's nothing that's going to come up between now and until like the middle of the season, when you really see how teams get on with like their short preseason or however preseason runs, because I don't know if they're going to be able to have like scrimmages the way they would like to. So we'll see how that goes. But also starting up this week, the MLS has started. They started on Wednesday, July 8th. They had the first game between Orlando City and Inter Miami, and Orlando City took down Inter Miami by a score of 2-1 with Luis Nani, scoring a 96-minute winner. On Thursday the 9th, the Philadelphia Union beat New York City FC 1-0. The New England Revolution take down the Montreal Impact 1-0. Friday the 10th, Seattle Sounders and the San Jose Earthquakes tied 0-0 in the only game of the day. And then Saturday the 11th, Red Bulls beat Atlanta United 1-0, and the Columbus Crew smacked FC Cincinnati 4-0. On Sunday, July 12th, which is when we are recording this, Sporting Kansas City loses to Minnesota United by a score of 2-1. Real Salt Lake beats the Colorado Rapids 2-0, and I know that disappoints you because you had the bets on the draw. I know you don't know soccer much. How much money you lose there?
I only did a $5 bet. I feel like it's not bad, but to be fair, I'm still up. I'm 1 for 2, or 1 for 3 technically in my predictions. Obviously, the first game coming back, I was excited to see the first sport in the United States, or major sport that's not motocross or F1 or anything like that. So I bet on Inter Miami to beat Orlando City. Obviously, that did not happen. Then I put $10 by accident on the New York Red Bulls to beat the Atlanta United because I put in 2 $5 bets because I was just gonna stick to 5 because I don't know much about this. But then New York ended up beating Atlanta, so I got a decent amount of money. And then last night I saw that there was great odds on a tie, and I learned from you that neither team, which they said multiple times through the broadcast, were not good on. Were not very good at scoring the ball. They were both towards the bottom last season. So I was like, oh, I got this. It'll probably be 0-0 or 1-1. But, Real Salt Lake, they looked a lot better than Colorado did, and they won 2-0, so I lost money.
Yeah, it's also a lot of, rust. These teams are playing with a lot of rust. Like, they started their season, they had 2 to 3 months off, and now they're trying to come back in order to, finish out the regular season and finish out the MLS Cup. So it's, some teams are just making big mistakes. You even see it in the bigger leagues, like in the English Premier League. You see a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of rust that's coming back. So, yeah, well, that's really what's happening. But yeah, neither team, they were both towards the bottom of goal scoring last year. But I mean, they are. Look, they'll take a 2-0 win. Minnesota United, as we said, took down Sporting Kansas City by a score of 2-1, and you had Sporting KC winning that game, right?
No, I was actually looking. I didn't bet that early, but I was looking at halftime, and Minnesota's odds got boosted by one of the people they're partnered with, and the odds at halftime for Minnesota to win was plus 1,500. So you put a small amount, you're making a decent amount of money. So I thought about it, and I was like, nah. I was like, I'm not gonna make a stupid bet. Well, they ended up winning, so that would have been a great bet, but.
Oh yeah, and you said you put money down on New York Red Bulls, which was a bold one. New York Red Bulls Florian Velote scores in 4 minutes to give the Red Bulls the one goal lead, which they took to the rest of the game. Not much has been going on. Tomorrow when this comes out, Toronto FC is going to be taking on DC United at 9 a.m., I believe. At night you have LAFC taking on the Houston Dynamo at 8 p.m. on FS1. LA Galaxy will be taking on Portland Timbers at 10:30, also on FS1. What are your thoughts on those games? Who do you think is going to take those?
I actually have to look at the betting odds first, but I know LAFC, I'm pretty sure, is one of the best teams, right?
They are, but Carlos Vela is not playing for LAFC.
Oh.
He said that he is not going to be playing, which is not interesting because, well, he's probably the best player in MLS, and I feel like people can't really argue that. He's incredible, to be honest. He's had a very good couple seasons there, and now he's not playing. I mean, reasonably so. It's fair. Anyone who doesn't play, it's not you're they're just gonna cut you, especially if you're Carlos Vela. But yeah, he's not playing for LAFC. Houston Dynamo. I don't know. I still kind of see LAFC taking this game, as I think LAFC just have a much better club, a much better team around them, where the Houston Dynamo are a little iffy in some places. But look, with all the rust, I feel like anyone could take this, but I would take LAFC over Houston Dynamo.
What about the next game?
And then we got the LA Galaxy versus the Portland Timbers. The LA Galaxy, they have Chicharito. I believe Chicharito is playing. It's a hard one. Portland Timbers over. I'd probably take LA Galaxy. Christian Pavone and Chicharito up top for the Galaxy is just. Christian Pavone is really good. He had a very good first season in MLS last year. He came halfway through. He paired up with Zlatan, who left. Now he's paired up with Chicharito. A bit of a different player, but at the same time, I do think this is one for the LA Galaxy to take. Yeah, I would definitely take the LA Galaxy. Portland is a very, very good team, though, and I would not count them out. Like, they definitely do have a good chance, but overall, I would take the LA Galaxy. I do think it is kind of like they're one of the top teams. Actually, both of them are top teams. Portland is probably more consistent, but LA Galaxy has the players to beat almost anyone on any given day. Yeah, those are the games for the Monday night slate. On July 14th, Tuesday, you have the Chicago Fire taking on the Seattle Sounders at 9 a.m. At 8 p.m., New York City and Orlando City get their first games in their second games in as they play at 8 p.m. And that will be on TUDN / Twitter. And to end Tuesday night, we have Inter Miami taking on the Philadelphia Union, also on TUDN or Twitter. A lot of
Twitter.
soccer. Yeah, that's what it says.
That's very interesting. I know the NFL did that for one season for Thursday night, but that's interesting.
Yeah, so I guess it's like a whole Twitter stream that they're going to do.
It's pretty smart. But I'm not gonna lie. I feel like because people might just like scroll past and be like, "Oh, what's that?" and then click on. That's a smart idea for the MLS.
Yeah. Try to just raise the value, not the value, but raise like awareness of soccer, that it's like back. I feel like a lot of more people are watching it now. It's definitely interesting. No fans, obviously, but I get back. It's really one of the only sports that is back. But also something that is back is F1, and in F1 we had the the Styrian Grand Prix this past weekend. Lewis Hamilton taking first place, Valtteri Bottas taking second, and Max Verstappen taking third. I don't think there's any other sports that are back at this current moment. NHL, which we will be talking about next episode, they just came out with their schedule for upcoming events. What else? I know the NBA came out with not a preseason schedule, I can't think of the name. A scrimmage schedule. Yes, a scrimmage schedule for some teams. Man, I just blanked. A scrimmage schedule for some teams, and then obviously their season will be starting at the end of July. And I think that's it for right now. The NHL, they don't have an exact start date. The MLS is back. The MLB they're coming back. They have their summer training, which just sounds really weird to say, instead of their spring training. They're not allowed to play other teams. They're just kind of playing like inter-squad scrimmages, which is what happened when we talked about Tanaka a couple episodes ago. He's doing a bit better. He's starting to throw. But it does seem the 1.2% of coronavirus cases in the MLB has gone up to 1.8%, which really is not too terrible considering how many people are on a baseball squad. So I do think the MLB is doing pretty good. And the Yankees closer, Aroldis Chapman, did test positive for coronavirus, although no one around him has tested positive, as they tested negative. So it is a good look for MLB at the moment, as they will be I don't know the exact start date of the MLB. It's actually pretty soon. I know the Yankees will be taking on the Nationals in the very first game. We will talk more about the MLB probably in the next episode or the one after, as we will probably have a special guest for that episode. We will start to have some guests on as we continue to roll out episodes, so make sure you tune in. Tommy, any last thoughts?
Just excited sports are back.
Yeah, back. You can finally bet on things. It's kind of returning back to normal. Kinda. Strong kinda. But that is going to do it for us on episode 5 of the Nosebleeds Section podcast. Comes out every Monday and Thursday. This Monday it's probably going to come out a little late. We apologize. But every Monday, Thursday at 3 p.m. on YouTube. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you.